Welcome to Cinematic Recaps. Today I'll be talking about the 2006 dystopian action thriller movie titled Children of Men by director Alfonso Cuarón. Spoilers ahead, so buckle up as we dive in. The year is 2027, and London, like the rest of the world, is a grim, dying place. The British government has cemented its stance on immigration, closing borders and continuing the harsh deportation of undocumented refugees. In a crowded coffee shop, patrons watch the news with weary resignation. The latest report announces the death of the planet's youngest person, Diego Ricardo, just 18 years old, tragically stabbed after refusing an autograph. Theo Farron, a disillusioned former activist, walks in, seemingly unbothered, to get his coffee. The news continues, reporting that Diego's assailant was then beaten to death by an enraged crowd. Theo steps outside, adding whiskey to his coffee, just as a building nearby erupts in a small explosion, injuring several people. Later at his government office, his colleagues are mourning Diego's passing. Theo uses Diego's death as an excuse, telling his boss he's too affected to work and wants to finish his day at home. Granted permission, he boards a train. On the journey, they pass an angry mob on the tracks throwing rocks, but the train's reinforced windows hold. At the station, Theo walks past holding cells overflowing with illegal immigrants guarded by police. He is then warmly greeted by his eccentric cousin, Jasper Palmer, and his dog. As they drive to Jasper's secluded home, they pass a stark cattle graveyard. Theo recounts the recent explosion, noting it's the second this month, and expresses his disdain for the public mourning wanker Diego. A bus packed with illegal immigrants drives past, heading to a holding camp. Jasper, making small talk, asks Theo about his love life, which Theo dismisses as a failed relationship. As they reach the cleverly hidden entrance to Jasper's home in the woods, Jasper offers Theo a place to stay. Inside, Theo sees Jasper's sick wife, Janice, surrounded by newspaper clippings detailing the ongoing human infertility crisis and the massive influx of refugees. A global crisis almost 2 decades old. Among them is a photo of Theo with a woman and a baby, hinting at a past life. Later, Theo and Jasper discuss government-issued drugs used to combat pervasive depression. Jasper offers Theo a specially rolled cigar. As Theo tries it, Jasper mentions the Human Project, a mysterious organization rumored to be seeking a cure for global infertility. Theo, cynical, dismisses it, believing it's too late. Humanity is already succumbing to constant war and despair. Jasper, however, reveals he was setting up a joke, which he eventually shares, and the two men burst into laughter. Theo, feeling dizzy and still affected by the earlier explosion, experiences ringing ears. Jasper plays calming Zen music and begins dancing, suggesting it will help. The next morning, Theo wakes up in his apartment, preparing for another day of his bleak routine. On his way to work, Theo passes more holding cells and police arresting refugees. He then passes a memorial for baby Diego. As he walks down the stairs, 2 armed men force him into their van, taking him to an interrogation room. Inside, they introduce themselves as the Fishes, an immigrant rights group led by Theo's ex-wife, Julian Taylor. They assure him no harm will come, explaining their actions were necessary to avoid police, then untie him. Outside, Julian offers condolences for his mother's death. During a walk, she asks for his help to get transit papers for a young refugee needed to reach the coast bypassing security checkpoints. Theo complains about her sudden reappearance after nearly 20 years, only to ask for favors. She suggests his government cousin can provide the papers, but Theo refuses, citing danger. She offers £5,000, but he rejects, insisting he doesn't need her money. The men bag him again. As he's led away, Julian warns him about the eerie sounds in his ear cells dying, leading to deafness, telling him to enjoy it whilst it lasts. On the return trip, a captor warns the kidnapping never happened, and they'll be watching him. Theo retorts about his bad breath. They give him a note with the £5,000 offer, then drop him off, tossing him pennies for bus fare. Later, en route to his cousin, Theo passes Christians who believe global infertility is God's punishment for sin. Theo arrives at the agency, where a man leads him to his cousin, Nigel, a government minister who curates a state-sponsored salvaged art collection. Inside, he sees a partially destroyed sculpture of Michelangelo's David. Nigel walks up, stopping his guard dogs before they attack Theo, then gives him a tight hug. After lunch, Nigel asks his purpose for visiting. Theo fabricates a story. He's met a beautiful girl whose brother in Brighton needs transit papers due to the current situation. Nigel shouts at his game-focused son, Alex, to take his pills. They leave the table, and Nigel says he'll consider his request. That night, Theo meets Luke, a fish's henchman, in a bar for a drink. Theo explains a problem. His cousin provided joint transit papers, meaning he must escort the girl. Luke says Julian thinks highly of him, then leaves an envelope with the girl's pictures. The next day, Theo goes to the rendezvous, a greyhound racing stadium. A prearranged woman approaches. After collecting his bet winnings, Theo rushes to meet her. She boards a bus. Theo runs to catch it. Inside, he's directed upstairs, where he meets Julian and hands her the papers. Julian tells Theo his eyes remind her of their son, who died from the 2008 flu. They argue when Theo suggests Julian moved on too fast from their son's death. She gets angry and walks away, with Theo following. She explains she came to him for the papers because she trusts him, then kisses him. They meet Luke, who gives Theo his money and informs him they're headed to a Canterbury checkpoint, where he and the girl will proceed together. Inside the vehicle, Theo meets Key and her midwife, Miriam. He attempts to nap during the journey. Key wakes him, complaining he snores loudly. He teases Key, asking if she robbed a train or blew up a building to need such a permit. Julian recounts a past event. Theo once invited police for negotiations, only to spike their coffee with ketamine. As she plays with Theo, their vehicle is suddenly ambushed. Luke attempts to reverse and escape, but the attackers open fire, striking Julian in the neck. As the gang again targets Theo, he swiftly opens the car door, causing their motorcycle assailants to crash. They drive on, passing police and ambulance vehicles heading towards the ambush site. A police car then turns around and stops them. They all present their passports, but the officers call for backup upon seeing Julian's deceased body. Luke swiftly draws his gun and shoots the officers, prompting Theo's protest. Following these incidents, Miriam prays over Julian's body in the woods. Theo moves away, breaking down in tears, mourning his ex-wife's death. Luke returns with a new vehicle, urging them to leave for a fish's safe house on a rural farm. The group departs, leaving Julian's body behind. At the farm, they meet the people in charge, and Luke requests clean clothes for Theo. Cleaned up, Theo overhears the group electing Luke as their new leader. A man escorts Theo outside, stating he's been assigned to watch him. Miriam approaches, telling Theo he wants to speak with him in the barn. In the barn, he reveals she knows about Theo and Julian's son, Dylan, and how Theo taught him to swim at 2 years old. He states Julian instructed her to go with Theo if anything happened, believing he could get her to the Tomorrow, a mysterious ship. Theo, knowing nothing of the ship, tells her the fishes can care for her. She insists Julian told her to trust only Theo. As Theo attempts to leave, he strips, revealing her pregnancy. Theo stares in shock and disbelief as she expresses her fear and need for his help. After nearly 20 years of global infertility, a young refugee stands before him, pregnant. Luke and Miriam rush in. Miriam asserts Key's right to inform Theo of her pregnancy. Later, the group watches a news broadcast about the armed encounter, reporting Julian's death and 2 officers. It labels Theo, Key, Miriam, and Luke as terrorists, stating police found their old vehicle with forensic evidence. Luke notes it's only a matter of time before police identify and arrest them. Others suggest Theo should leave, but Luke states Key wants him to stay. He adds that the original plan to deliver Key to the Human Project may now be impossible due to the incident and her pregnancy, sparking an argument. Suddenly, Theo shouts for them to make the pregnancy public, drawing varied reactions. One argues the government won't accept a baby from a black refugee. Another suggests the government would take the baby and present a black English woman as the mother. Luke states the government will never accept a baby from a wanted refugee. He insists no one will take or use her baby for political purposes, refusing to go to the government. Luke suggests staying at the safe farm and relocating to the coast months after the baby's birth. She asks Theo for his opinion, then agrees to Luke's plan, which earns cheers. That night, Theo, in bed, hears a motorcycle and goes to investigate. He sees the 2 severely injured riders he had earlier knocked off their motorcycle and goes to investigate. As they enter the room, he quickly hides, listening to their conversation. Theo walks outside to better hear their conversation. There, he overhears Luke confessing to planning Julian's death. They also plan to kill Theo in the morning and use the baby as a political tool for their uprising. Theo sneaks back inside, waking Key and Miriam to inform them of Luke's treacherous plan. Key agrees to go with Theo, and Miriam joins them. Outside, Theo disables the remaining vehicles before they steal another. The group pursues, trying to stop the car. Luke runs out, ordering his men not to shoot, as Key is inside. One man catches up, points a gun at Theo, and asks if he can shoot, but Theo hits him with the car door. On the road, the car suddenly stops. Theo gets out to push, telling Miriam to jumpstart it. They succeed. Theo rushes back in, and the three narrowly escape the pursuing group. Along the way, Theo tells them he knows a safe place. They arrive at Jasper's house. Theo enters, finding Jasper and his wife asleep amidst bottles of hard drugs, initially fearing they poisoned themselves. Jasper wakes, explains the drug's purpose, and Theo introduces him to Key and Miriam. Jasper prepares breakfast. They discuss the Tomorrow, revealed to be a hospital ship disguised as a fishing trawler destined for the human project. Miriam explains the ship will stop at 2 weather signals. One later that night at Windsmore, the other 2 nights later at Bexhill. Theo dismisses Windsmore as impossible to reach in time. Miriam insists it's their only chance, stating Bexhill is a refugee camp and not an option. Hearing this, Jasper urges them to eat and rest, emphasizing the need for energy, then walks out, leaving them curious about his destination. After breakfast, while awaiting Jasper's return, Miriam goes outside to meditate. He tells Theo Miriam believes it's good for her baby. He asks her questions. She reveals she's 8 months pregnant, joking she's a virgin. She names the father as Michael. She admits she'd never seen a pregnant woman, but knew she was pregnant when she started vomiting and her belly grew. She felt like a freak and told no one until the baby kicked, making her feel alive and excited. Jasper returns, rushing in with good news. He's secured a border guard, a regular drug buyer, who will get them into Bexhill. Later, Theo hides their car and decides to walk in the woods. He finds Jasper chatting with the women, sharing his drug with Miriam, who notes it tastes like strawberry. He sees a photo of Julian and Theo. Jasper narrates their story. Theo and Julian met at a rally, united by a desire to change the world, their faith keeping them together. Their son, Dylan, a sweet charm, was taken by the 2008 flu pandemic, marking when Theo lost his faith. Theo leaves as Jasper continues the story. The next morning, loud noises wake them. Jasper checks the CCTV, seeing the fishes attempting to break in. Theo prepares to leave, telling Jasper to get his wife. Jasper gives Theo directions and a bag with the guard's password, but chooses to stay behind to stall their pursuers. Jasper walks back inside, plays a song, expresses his feelings to his wife, then performs a mercy killing. Theo stops the car at a distance and looks back at the house. Luke and his team arrive at the property, telling Jasper they're looking for Theo. The men rush inside, finding documents detailing their journey to Bexhill. Luke asks when they left. Jasper responds with a joke. Finding it unfunny, Luke mercilessly shoots Jasper 3 times, killing him. Meanwhile, Theo watches from the woods as Luke kills his uncle. He walks back to the car, telling Miriam not to touch him. They then drive off to meet the officer, as Jasper instructed. The next day, Theo wakes at the abandoned school, following Jasper's directions. Inside, he sees an antelope pass by. He continues on, finding Key on a swing outside, while Miriam sits in a classroom corner. Miriam shares with Theo how human infertility began during her time at an antenatal clinic, from one miscarriage to the next. She recounts 3 patients miscarrying in the first week, then 5 the next, with numbers steadily growing until no new pregnancies were seen. She grows emotional, and Theo comforts her. Suddenly, an alarm sounds outside. They step out to investigate, seeing a military vehicle. A voice from a speaker orders them to stop. Theo walks forward, stating he's looking for Sid. He's ordered to put his hands above his head, which he does, while insulting the person as a fascist pig, a phrase Jasper instructed him to use for the border guard. Sid steps out, angry, daring Theo to repeat the insult, threatening him with his baton. Sid then laughs at Theo's fear and invites them into his car. En route to Bexhill, Sid reveals the password was Jasper's idea, calling him a cheeky old bastard proud of his weed. As he speaks, he experiences excruciating belly pain. Sid warns her not to vomit in his car, while Miriam creates an alibi to divert his attention. At a station, Sid notes people usually want out of Bexhill, but he doesn't care why they want in. He steps out, opens the door, and instructs them to find a soldier statue. There, a gypsy woman named Marichka will find them lodging for the night. He then tells them to make sad refugee faces, feigning fright while directing them to a bus. Inside the bus, Theo asks the boat's meeting time and if Luke might have intercepted their message. Miriam replies, sunset the next day. No one can contact the Human Project. She explains the organization typically uses an immigrant chain to relay information, eventually reaching Julian. Theo is dismayed that Miriam hasn't spoken to the organization since. Simultaneously, Key's contractions intensify, making her very uncomfortable. The bus arrives at the camp late that night. Key's water breaks then, and she screams in pain. Officers enter to separate refugees. Key's crying draws one's attention. He attempts to take her, but Miriam distracts him with a religious outburst. He slaps her and pushes her outside. He refocuses on Key, but Theo steps in, pointing out to the soldier that she's urinated herself. The soldier leaves the bus in disgust. As the bus drives away, Key watches through the window as soldiers abuse Miriam and other refugees. Off the bus, as they enter the camp, a soldier stops Theo to take his watch, while another pushes Key inside. Theo quickly enters, sees Key being embarrassed by a man, and takes her away. He finds the soldier's statue and Marichka. As she drives them through the camp, they witness dead refugees being cremated. They reach a house and head upstairs, Key still in excruciating pain. In their room, Theo quickly sends Marichka away at Key's request. As Key lies on the bed for birth, Theo quickly washes his hands to assist. He disinfects his hands with whiskey from his jacket, telling her to keep breathing and push as he sees the baby's head. Key pushes, and the baby emerges. Theo hands her the baby girl, then washes his hands while they both laugh in joy. The next morning, heavy knocks wake them. Theo asks who it is. The voice replies the King of England, insulting him. He opens the door to find Sid and Marichka. Sid asks about Key and informs them the fishes blew a hole in the fence, freeing refugees. Marichka's dog sniffs Key. Sid suspects something hidden. He approaches, discovers the baby, surprising both him and Marichka. Sid quickly urges them to leave, but Marichka warns Theo that Sid is bad. Sid fires a shot at the floor to gain compliance. Descending the stairs, Sid reveals he saw news last night. Theo and Key are cop killers with bounties. He also heard the fishes are looking for them, so he plans to take the baby for the reward. Marichka quickly pushes Sid down the stairs. Theo grabs Sid's gun while Marichka retrieves a hammer and strikes him hard. The three try to escape as Sid reloads. He fires at Theo, but misses. They reach the other side. Theo seizes a weapon and hits Sid in the head, killing him. Running to join the women, he cuts his leg on broken glass, limping. Marichka, not speaking English, sees Theo draw a boat on a wall, signaling their need for one. She understands, tells them to follow, as they navigate an angry crowd chanting Allahu Akbar. She leads them to an abandoned bank. She shows the baby to a man on the other side, who is amazed and grants them passage into his apartment. Inside, the man's wife and Marichka play with Key's baby girl. Key tells Theo she wants to name her Bazooka, excited by the choice. Suddenly, two men enter. One tells Theo they'll leave in an hour and hands him shoes. Theo looks outside, seeing the military and the fishes rallying. Later, they exit the bank, navigating streets past a grieving mother. They continue, hiding from crossfire between military and separatist groups. They reach a boat doorway. As the man tries to open it, the fishes appear and capture them. One tries to shoot Theo, but Luke stops him. Theo tells Luke to release them, but Luke says it's the uprising, and the people haven't seen the baby yet. He takes Key, instructing his soldier to kill the others. The soldier shoots the man. Just then, the army opens fire, giving Theo and Marichka a chance to escape. Theo pursues Luke, leaving Marichka behind. He runs into men taking shelter from bullets, who push him away. Theo continues, sees Luke's team running toward him, and takes shelter in a bus. From a distance, he sees the military has cornered them in a building and seeks a way in. Refugees run out, surrendering, but the military fires and kills them all. Theo enters the building, passing corpses and people seeking shelter. He sees one of Luke's men, responsible for shooting Julian, get shot by the military. He continues, looking for Key. Hearing the baby's cries upstairs, he runs toward them. He finds Key and the baby hiding from heavy gunfire. Theo attempts to leave with them, but Luke stops them. Luke states they need the baby and that Julian believed it would be peaceful, but it isn't. He initially thinks the baby is a boy until Theo corrects him, revealing it's a girl. As Luke turns to return fire, Theo and Key run. Luke turns, firing a shot that hits Theo, before being immediately killed by military fire. As Theo escorts them through the hallway, everyone in the building emerges to see the crying baby. Descending the stairs, the fishes cease fighting, allowing them safe passage. They continue, meeting British soldiers. A ranking officer orders a ceasefire, and the soldiers stare in awe as Theo and Key pass through. Outside, some soldiers pray while others kneel, granting them passage. This harmony is cut short by a grenade launch, scattering the soldiers from the scene. Theo and Key meet Marichka, who has been waiting. She leads them to the hidden boat. They board the boat. but she decides to stay behind with her dog. Theo quickly rows the boat to the meeting point. He thinks they are late, but he assures her they are early. Suddenly, Army fighter jets fly past, conducting airstrikes on Bexel. He sees blood in the boat and panics, thinking she's bleeding. Theo reveals Luke had shot him earlier. He tells Key to keep her baby close, regardless of what she's told on the ship or at the Human Project. Theo then teaches Key how to burp her baby and stop its crying. He then informs him she'll name her baby Dylan, after his dead son, adding it's a girl's name too. Theo smiles as he gradually loses consciousness. He spots the ship approaching and assures her baby all is well. The movie concludes with Theo losing consciousness as the Tomorrow ship approaches their boat. And that's the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It really helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next recap.